welcome to a special Sunday edition of the HaskinCast Podcast. You have been enjoying the sounds of the very first single from Nyxotic, Putumayo, which I am very excited to talk about the creator. I've had him on as one half of the band Mythos, but today we're talking about the new project, Nyxotic. Bob Deeth. Bob, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm really good. It's nice to be back in the studio creating again, and
Yeah.
I've been back and forth over the years, having the space to create, and so it's really nice to have something fresh and new. And I've got a sort of a lot of pent up ideas that I need to express. So I'm excited to get those done.
I'm very glad to hear that. I remember when I talked to you last time, I kind of felt like maybe there wasn't anything left in the tank. And as much as I love your music, you're one of my favorite artists. I was kind of like, oh, I hope there's something though. Like maybe someday you'll find that gear again. And I was really excited when I got the email about this single. And you've already got two others that I saw on iTunes for pre-order.
Yeah, so there's two that are coming up I'm going to try, and I don't want to make any false promises, but I'm going to try to do a single a month as long as I can. But I have, the three in the bank. They're already ready to go and out. And so yeah, so and the idea too is to try to work with as many amazing guest artists as I can, because that's the fun, is to actually create something and then bring in different flavors. Like for example, this first track, Putumayo, there's a friend of mine, Aaron Ross, who is in a band called the Boom Booms in Vancouver. He's also a solo Latin artist. And when I composed the piece, I thought, it just feels like this this main chorus part needs a male Latin voice. Do I know anybody who does that? I go, yeah, Aaron. And so I try to get hold of Aaron. I say, where's Aaron? Where's Aaron? I finally get hold of him. He's in Ecuador.
Oh,
And so he's married to his lovely wife, who is from that country, and he spends half his year now down in Ecuador. But he has all his gear with him. So I basically sent him the track and said, "Well, what do you think? I mean, I know it's a little bit outside of your wheelhouse,
mhm.
but what do you think?" And he says, "Oh yeah, no, I can do this." So he worked on it and sent me back some tracks, and I was like, "Hell yeah, that's exactly what I wanted."
Perfect.
And so yeah, so it was kind of fun. So I expect over the next year or so to be doing that and reaching out to, I guess over the last 30 years I've made so many great friends in the music industry all over the world, and I hope to sort of, give them a little tap and say, hey, you want to do something, and hopefully we'll get some really interesting collaborations, and then there'll be some straight solo stuff too. I've got I mean, part of it too is because I'd spent so many years working with my partner Paul in Mythos,
Mhm.
and he's got other things that he's working on, and so right now I'm ready to go, and he's got other things he's working on. I'm like, okay, well, in the interim, in the hiatus, well, I'm going to do this because I'm ready to go. So that's why I'm working on this project, because like I said, I've all this pent up energy. I mean, I lost an election last year, and so I'm like, okay, now what do I do? I get to do what I want to do now.
Well, that is an interesting question I hadn't really thought about. So, you spend X amount of years and get all these people together and you campaign and you do all this stuff. And if you don't win, well, what do you
That
do? I mean, it's like a
exactly.
big hole, right? It's unplanned for.
Well, I'll give you and I only lost this lot, just so your listeners know. In British Columbia, we have a legislature that's like your state, your state legislature,
Mhm.
and so I was a member of the provincial legislature for 2 terms, so that's 8 years.
Mhm.
So I was going for re-election again, and I only lost by 97 votes
Oh,
out of
wow.
26,000 votes. I lost by, like,
Oh,
it was
that
basically
hurts.
a rounding error, right?
Right.
So, and on many of it was just a very tight race all around, for all the different ridings. But yeah, so I thought I would win. I really didn't, I mean, you always assume you might not, but
Sure.
But I really thought, given all the work I'd done and all that. So yeah, so it was really weird because you work pretty much as a politician. I mean, people like to crap on politicians, but having been one, you work really hard. I mean, and when you're not in the legislature, you're in your riding working, you're 7 days a week. It never ends. It's a machine. The government's a machine, and you
Yeah.
just get churned up. Anyway, so I went from a calendar that was like a giant full every day, every hour, 7 days a week to nothing as far as the eye could see.
Well,
That was the wildest experience
yeah.
because all of a sudden it's like free falling off a cliff. And I didn't know what to do because I was so programmed. I was like, here, I got to go do this. I got to do that. Okay, read this, do this. I got to go to this committee meeting. Got to do, it's like it just never ended. And then all of a sudden, boom, off.
Well, you
Wild,
assume that you
wild
could
experience.
lose, but you don't plan for it.
Well, you kind of have to. I mean, I kept my law practice going, just
Well,
because
that's
I
good.
kind of always look, I'm a practical guy. I still had plan B,
Mhm.
uh, I can't fight the fact that my true passion has always been music. It's
Sure.
always been creative music. It's always been, you know, fighting to try to make all my money as a creator, and that's all I wanted to do. And then I found as I got more into the industry that I had some chops in terms of being an entertainment lawyer and running labels and publishing and stuff. So I kind of got drawn over to the business side,
Mhm.
but my heart has still always been in the creation, right?
Right.
And you know that. I mean, you're a
Yeah.
creator, and it's just it's in your bones, right? And I feel like if I'm not creating, I'm not living.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not creating, I get this sort of weird like imbalance in my life, and I start feeling like I'm tipping. And then if I
Yeah.
create, it kind of brings me back to some sort of semblance of balance. And so I've needed that for a long time. So you'd mentioned the last time you talked to me, yeah, maybe I was feeling a little bit that way,
Mhm.
but now I'm like super energized. I'm like writing again. I'm like writing books again. I'm writing music again. I'm actually
Yeah.
having a blast. So
And you can feel it in the song. I mean, the listeners heard a little bit of it in the opening. I kind of teased it. There is a link to Adagio Music website as well as the link to iTunes, so you can go ahead and grab your copy of the song. But I mean, it's got a little bit of a dance feel to it. I could see why you went in the Latin direction for a vocalist, although the vocals don't feel Latin. They just have this really nice atmosphere that they add to the song. But I felt, and maybe it's just in my own mind because of our conversation, but I kind of felt a little bit of a renewed energy coming from you on this one.
well, that's fair enough. I mean, I've got to say that a lot of our stuff in Mythos, it definitely was a little darker, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and um, that's fine. I mean, we just had that sort of feel,
Mm-hmm.
and this one maybe is a little bit more optimistic, and I don't know if that all my pieces will be like that, but but this one definitely has a sense of optimism, and I'm kind of on that drive right now because I feel that there's enough negativity in the world right now, and actually what we need is some optimism and some joy and some you know passion and things
Yeah.
that matter to people instead of this just noise and negativity. And you know turning on the TV these days, you just want to like pull, well, in my case, what's left of your hair out, right? So uh
Yeah, I get it. I
yeah,
get it.
so that's kind of my approach here is maybe I can give a little bit of love and joy back into the world again. It's like that's the hope anyway.
Now, I want to let you guys know that Bob does live in Canada, but there is no surcharge or anything for listening to this podcast if you live in the States. There's no what is it, tariff on podcasts, so that's a really good thing. I have to say I agree with you. I do think people talk very badly about politicians. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but I mean you've seen what's gone on here, and there's so much just lies and corruption. I don't think that it's the individuals necessarily that are bad. It's the ones that get the press that are the ones that I think kind of make it a domino effect for the people that are actually genuine and do work hard. You just assume they're in someone's pocket, and it's just not a good situation. So you're right. I do think they get a bad rap, and for all of those that are out there that really do care and work hard to really serve the people that elected them, thank you, because there's a lot that don't.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, one of the things, I mean, I hate to compare, but I mean, one of the things that we did in government is we got all of the corporate money out of all the corporate union donations out of politics. So
Wow.
where I ran, there's no corporate and union donations. And
Mm,
I think one of the challenges that is in the States is this Citizens United and this whole idea that you can spend any amount of corporate money on campaigns. And then are you beholden to those companies? And that's that's one of the things that is a challenge, I think, in the States
mm,
is that sort of politicians feeling beholden to the people that are donating and the companies that are donating to them. So
right.
there's less of that where I am,
Mm,
which actually frees you up to do the actual work without feeling beholden to any particular organization or company. So yeah, I can't, I'm not going to try and change the US system, but I mean, there's challenges that are unique to different countries. And I think
sure.
that's one that tends to, I think, make it so that politicians have to be a little bit circumspect when an issue comes up from one of their big donors, you know?
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't know, but yeah, look, I wouldn't stop. I was so lucky because during the pandemic, I got appointed as parliamentary secretary for arts and film. I got to work in the
Wow.
creative sector and help all these festivals get um, through tough times and artists and creators. And so I kind of feel like I was in the right place at that right time. And
Mm.
so I was able to help. And so maybe I can help in a different way now. So
That's a good way to look at it. You know,
yeah,
if you are a person who is a giver, if you're one who likes to kind of promote change or facilitate it, and you can't do it through one means, there's always other ways.
of course,
Yeah.
exactly. So
But that's a great position for you of all people, I think, to be in with your legal side, with your passion and all that, to be able to mix all those skills into something that, really needs that specific attention is a perfect opportunity.
yeah, I like to think so. And yeah, like I said, it's just to me, I just want to create.
Mm,
I don't have any pretensions to be, I look at the industry and I work with a lot of artists in the, rock, pop, country, the sort of the genres that are sort of the generate the most money and
mm,
interest and, have big tours and all those sort of things. That's great. And I love working with those artists. But I mean, for me, I mean, I'm a little bit long in the tooth for the pop industry, so, but still, so I mean, it's about finding that niche, finding that place where people still want to listen to what I'm doing. And I think the nice thing about the type of music that I create is that it is kind of cross cross genre and across demographics, which is nice because a lot of times music gets pigeonholed into very small demographics,
mhm.
and so I like to think this has a sort of broader demographic, and because I mean I rarely use lyrics, it translates well into Mexico and to
Mhm.
Spain and Germany and in the UK. It's language isn't a barrier in that sense, so
Right.
yeah, but
But
not to say that we won't do lyrics, but
mhm.
at this point, I'm still gonna keep doing the more electroacoustic type approach.
Mhm. Well, and it's interesting. I learned a long time ago because I listened to music from all over the world. I listened to music from Japan and from Africa and different tribal things, and really
Mhm.
just anything I can get my hands on, I want to learn from and check out and experience. And I found that lyrics are the least important thing to me now. I think that started maybe a little bit with Cirque du Soleil because their lyrics are 98% complete gibberish. I mean, they're just syllables that work
Mhm.
for the music, which is a brilliant way of writing. But I just want the experience of feeling something more so than being told a story these days.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit too, I have written lyrics, but I'm not a lyricist. I'll be the first person to say that. And if I've had lyrics in the past, they've usually been a co-write with somebody else, or I've contributed to it as a lyricist. But so I've always come at it from the music side anyway.
Mm,
And for me, I've always felt that the most important parts of a song is actually the melody. The
yeah.
melody is everything.
Mm,
If you can, and that's one of the things about what I'm trying to do as well, is I do want to create music with melody, and sometimes in the genre around electronic music, there tends to not be melody, or it's some, some subgenres there's no melody at all,
Right.
and I like melody. I think it's important, for me, for what I want to create, and I think that's why I remember when I was in the south of France as a kid, listening to Owner of the Lonely Heart at a nightclub and watching all these French kids singing along, but they were just singing phonetically. They didn't know what the words meant.
Oh yeah.
They were just singing the melody, and phonetically they didn't know what And then I realized, well, it's actually it's the melody that's got in their head, and
Right.
it really made an impression on me back then. I said, oh, okay, well, that's really important. And of course, all the other parts are, equally as important in the production and all of those things, but I think starting with a great melody is critical, at the end of the day, for me anyway.
I would agree with that. A lot of times I start with melody. Sometimes I'll just start with a rhythm and I'll find a
Mhm.
melody within that,
Right.
interestingly. I'm curious though, because you've worked so long with a partner, and I'm sure each of you have written your own songs and brought those to the band, but how does it feel to just be 100% responsible for the outcome of the music?
Yeah, it's a little different. Uh, to be honest, I mean, there is a nice thing about having a partner, in that there's always that push and pull.
Mhm.
And when you do land on an idea, it's been tested. So it has you sort of have to create your own filters and your own challenges. And that's hard, because you have to be self-critical. You don't have a guy saying that sucks. Why are you playing that, Bob?
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's like, okay, well, try something different. Oh yeah, that's better. And that's just a process, right? So that's why I think too that I will like to have some collaboration on as I move forward, because I do like that collaboration. I mean, I was so lucky. I got to play, my eldest son and my daughter-in-law just got married, and
Mm.
they put this all-star band together for their wedding. So instead of having a wedding band, they played their own wedding.
Wow.
And I got to sit in with this amazing band, right? It was all the lot of the local Vancouver, top musicians. They were just amazing, and half the audience were musicians. So it was just such a great experience to be able to do that. And I do feel that the collaboration, or working, on a stage for people, it that's a whole other feel, and that's what you miss when you don't have a collaborator,
Right.
is sharing that. So yeah, it's a new thing. I mean, I've done lots of stuff on my own. I mean, like you, I've done some film and television work on my own. I've done some uh, writing on my own too, and produced other people. And so I don't feel completely, you know, outside of the comfort zone, but I do feel a little challenged, in that I want to make sure the stuff I put out is going to be solid. And
Yeah.
it's I think what I'll be doing moving forward is making sure I circulate earlier mixes to friends to get beaten up on and stuff like that.
Right. Well, you just have to find people that can deliver it gently, right? Instead of going,
Oh
that
no, I
sucks.
don't
Just,
care.
I think you could play this better.
I don't.
That
I
was a
really don't
really,
care.
it wasn't a sloppy take. It's just that all the notes were in the wrong position.
No, no,
It's all
I
what I
mean,
said.
yeah, with my friends, we don't beat around the bush, so that's fine with
Yeah.
me. I've always
Yeah.
been pretty thick-skinned. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to be when you're a politician. There's not
Oh,
much you can say
yeah.
that doesn't just go off the back, like you know,
Hmm.
like a duck, water off a duck.
Well, you're right about the accountability thing. I think having someone to keep you in check, like if you're an author, or as an author, and we'll talk about your book
Mhm.
too, but if you're writing, say, a fiction, and somebody doesn't come in and say, look, you've gone way off the rails on your story, you need to either circle back or cut some of this out because you've really lost the point. You're going to just put that out there, and then you're going to see those complaints on Amazon instead of
Mhm.
something you could have avoided. With
Yeah,
music, I feel like
a good editor
good
is
editor. Mhm.
critical, Yeah.
I feel like with music, it's easy to do that too. We can just have fun and start enjoying what we're writing and kind of just go off on a tangent. And then you come back and you don't really realize, because you're remembering how fun it was.
Mm.
maybe you don't see the bigger picture of the song anymore. So to have
Right.
somebody that can kind of rein you in a little bit and go, okay, we're losing the story here. Let's look at dialing this back a little bit. That is helpful.
Yeah, having a producer, for example, if you're an
Yeah.
artist, and that's
Mm-hmm.
actually one thing I talk about in my music business book a lot is this relationship between artists and the producer, and that is one of the hardest things, especially for younger artists, is to let go, let their songs breathe, let their songs develop, let their songs get from good to great. And sometimes a producer can do that. That can elevate a song, bring it up to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you're hiring them. And yet there's often a ton of resistance to that. And that's a shame, because I think a lot of artists, I always like to say, I mean, if you've been playing your guitar since you were 10 years old and you're 20 now, well, you've been playing your guitar for 10 years. If you're starting to write songs, you've been writing for a week. So you're a better guitar
Right.
player than you are a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you co-write with somebody who's been writing songs for 10 or years, and
Right.
don't get precious about it, because and so I always find a lot of younger artists, that's what holds them back the most, isn't their performance. It's their writing. It's just
Yeah.
it's just not great. And that's always tough to tell a young artist. But it's the truth.
Yeah,
And
you're
sometimes it
right.
takes those years for them to develop into good writers. And so
Mm-hmm.
um but
It's that lack of control. Like, this is my music. This is what
right.
I'm feeling inside. No one can tell me what I'm feeling inside.
Mm.
No, they can't. But what they can do is help you present it in a way that's going to connect with an audience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the resistance to, hey, why don't we flip the chorus right up front? No, I can't do that. Why not? It's like, those kind of things. Or, why don't we write a bridge? I mean, it's really an interesting, song, but it kind of needs, there's tension, there's a release, but maybe it needs to go somewhere else. And no, this is my song. And,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff is like, oh my goodness. It's like you really, this could be a great song if you let it be.
Right.
Let it be.
Well,
That's a great.
look at it this way. The Beatles had a producer. Deep Purple has a
I know.
producer. If those guys can have
And a great
help
producer.
from, yes, if they can have a producer, I don't think anyone's really above it.
No, I mean, I'd love to work with a producer. I mean, that'd be fun. That would be fun.
It'd be
Actually,
interesting to
I just can't
see.
afford it.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the other side of it, right? Is like, I've already got to pay for the album and
Yeah,
advertising and the,
yeah,
all that,
yeah.
the artwork. I would be very interested to see what, say, like a Bob Ezrin would do with your kind of music, because he's mostly
Well, he wouldn't
produced
do anything,
rock
because
and
I know
pop.
Bob, and he hates my guts. So
Does he really? Because he can't produce you?
no, no, Bob, don't. Nah, let's not go down that rabbit
Okay,
hole.
I won't. I will say,
Well, I
I
wouldn't say he hates my guts. He probably doesn't even remember me, let's say.
okay, that's
But
fair.
I used to work closely with Garth Richardson in Vancouver. His dad, Jack Richardson, worked very closely with Bob, and I was working uh, with Garth, and we were trying to put some stuff together, and Bob wasn't very happy with me, so he thought I was taking advantage of Garth, which is impossible if you know Garth. But it's just Bob, you know.
Those things can
He's
happen.
but
It's
but you're right. I mean,
unfortunate, but
from a creative point of view, that would be a really great experience. But
yeah.
from a personal point of view, I don't think it would work.
Right. No, I get that. But I mean, for like a rock producer to come into your kind of music and say, okay, so we don't have that normal structure that I'm used to. This is something that's completely different. It flows in a different way. You kind of have a verse chorus feel, but it's not a verse chorus in the traditional sense. So to come in and say, how do you produce this? How does somebody outside of that come in and make decisions on that behalf would really be an interesting experiment.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've always tried to write even electronic pieces, electronic songs in using song formats
Mm-hmm.
as much as I can. It doesn't always work, but the idea is to use some of the same tools that you have for songwriting, even in electronic music, and it gives it a structure.
Right.
One of my criticisms of a lot of ambient music, and ambient has it's a whole other genre,
Mm-hmm.
but I sometimes it feels, and I don't want to upset any of your listeners, and I apologize, but sometimes some music sounds a little bit like wallpaper, only
Mhm.
that there's no structure and it doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't connect I know what is meant to be and I get it. It's just, you're just zoning out and you're like, I understand the purpose,
Mhm.
but I'm not trying to do that. And
Yeah.
so I've always tried to write stuff that actually has some sort of melody
Mhm.
and in a sense, and sometimes that's a chorus or sometimes it's kind of like a verse, but it has a similar structure. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, everybody approaches these things differently, and I'm a big believer that every genre has its own merit in itself. I try not to be judgmental. I'm just saying, for me, i
Mhm.
i, I prefer music with melody.
Well, that's the thing, is you can address what you like and what you don't like, and it's such a personal experience, and you're coming to it from a lot of different standpoints. You're coming to it as a listener, but you're
Mhm.
also coming to it as a musician and a producer, and looking at what works and what doesn't. And we have such a limited time on this planet. I want to spend my time trying to find things I enjoy, instead of like, okay, I'm just going to invest in this band, and then I don't like the first couple songs, I'm probably going to stop listening.
Right.
Beyond that,
Right.
if it's just not connecting with me in any way,
Mhm.
maybe find something that stands a better chance. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that people tend to cling to, you have to like what I like, and you have to like
Mhm.
it for the reason I like it, when
Mhm.
the reason we like anything is a million different experiences and influences that come together, including how we're feeling in the moment that we first hear something. It would
Mhm.
be impossible for anyone to have exactly the same taste that we do.
Mhm. Mhm. That very well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
And I have a very sort of agnostic, open view of music. I've always I've studied jazz when I was younger,
Mm.
and I always kind of hated the name dropping and the, you know, just this kind of feeling like some guys are better than other guys, and just this. It was just a weird vibe when you get into that sort of world, and I just like, well, I like every kind of music.
Yeah.
When they start crapping on pop music, for example, I guess like it's like, well, there's some really great pop songs, like
Mm.
great pop songs that'll last hundreds of years, and there's great rock songs, there's great country songs, and there's great new age pieces, there's great ambient stuff, there's great, electronic. The point is that we're lucky in some respects. We're talking offline about, yeah, there's 100 million songs on Spotify, but that also means that there's this beautiful buffet of
Yeah.
everything you could possibly want is
Mm-hmm.
there, and that's a really beautiful thing. It's like Star Trek. I mean, if you remember back in the day, it was such a big deal when Spock says, "I want to listen to a symphony," and he pushes a button and it comes on. You're like, whoa, that's so cool.
That'll
And
never
now it's like,
happen.
well, now we have it. It's
Yeah.
like every song that's ever been created is pretty much on the streaming services. So
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about classical. I do the first episode of every month now is dedicated to a different classical piece, and I
nice.
found that there were so many pieces of even famous classical music that I've never actually sat down and listened to it from top to bottom, and I'm finding so much enjoyment in it that even going back to like the 1700s and thinking, there was really nothing going on in the 1700s that would have allowed somebody to come up with this idea. This is really fresh and innovative, thinking about how it was
It's
performed. And
probably heretical back
yeah,
then. Oh, use
no.
a major seventh. Ooh,
There's no, there's no,
stone him.
yeah, I mean, how many of them ended up in buckets of tar and feather? Uh, but I mean, you think about, there's no amplification, so you have to think about how
Right.
music was delivered, and it's just such a different experience. But there is beauty in everything. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of whether it connects with you. There's some rap songs that I like. There's country music that
Oh
I
yeah.
like. I mean, there's no genre that I hate. I might not like an artist or an artist's approach, but there's nothing where I could say I refuse to listen to this genre of music,
Oh
because
yeah. And
there could be
I was
somebody
just,
good in everything.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Scott. I mean, I was just cranking Logic the other day. My wife walks in. It's like, what are you listening to? I said, this is amazing, and it's like, just really, really, and really like hit you hard, like hip hop stuff, I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
I was in that
Yeah.
mood, right?
Hmm.
And it's great. Yeah,
I do think
I'm with
we
you.
have too many subgenres, though. I mean, when you get down to
Yeah,
like,
it gets
okay,
stupid.
country music for people wearing a hat with no left arm, it just kind of, it just gets to be a bit much.
Well, do you think is that people or the industry trying to put pigeonhole? Because to me, it's like they got to put it in a bucket somewhere. So
Yeah.
they try to create these buckets, right? Or if you get into sort of the electronic world,
Hmm.
it's you can't keep up with it because
Right.
the genres, subgenres, and subgenres change weekly, and it's very fickle.
Hmm.
And if you're using the wrong beats, you're dated. It's just you cannot keep up with that. I mean, you can if that's your life,
Right.
but I don't even try. Like I have no interest in trying to keep up with that. And so, someone might say, "Well, that's a dated sound or a dated beat," and I'm like, I liked it. That's what I'm using."
But isn't it funny that nobody calls Beethoven dated?
Well, but well, no, that's true. But like you said, it was different back then
Yeah.
because the instruments were the instruments. Now
Hmm.
you've got so many different types of sounds and it's recorded. And back then it was a big deal if you had to go see music, you had to
Yeah.
go see it live before recording. And
Hmm.
that was the only way to consume music. And uh, that's that's something that you and I experienced when we were kids with vinyl.
Right.
And I know I'm so happy that vinyl's made such a big comeback with the 20 somethings these days. And that's wonderful because it's the experience of experiencing an album,
Hmm.
experiencing the whole thing from the liner notes to the artwork to dropping the needle and listening. I'll sometimes listen with my sons and we'll just listen to a record. I mean, you don't do that with streaming. It's all
Yeah.
about individual songs and playlists, and
Hmm.
it's so consumer driven, and it's so like everything in the world is so uh, you know people's attention spans are so short, and it's all quick things like the dead scrolling through TikTok or any of that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, that everybody's being pulled into that world. But to be able to just sit back and experience something again,
Right.
pretty awesome. And I love that younger people are doing that. And I was saying offline to you as well, a lot of I work with a lot of younger artists, and they're actually rebelling against this whole AI like world, and going back into sort of very organic production,
Hmm.
back into the 70s, getting not quantizing, not using pitch correct, not playing to a click track, that kind of stuff, where it's real, it's human.
Hmm.
And I love that. I hope that it does that, because some of my favorite songs, there's no click track because the
Oh,
drummer's
yeah.
going up and down. It's like the
Hmm.
tempo's changing.
Yep.
Like I listened to this, I think, was it Roxy Music or one of those, and I was like, oh my God, I just couldn't believe how slow, like how much the drumming sped up and slowed down during the
Hmm.
song. It was like, oh, this would just never happen nowadays, right?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
and it's kind of
And
nice though,
it is. I like to use the example of Deep Purple's Space Truckin' from Machine Head, because when they do those opening hits where they're just,
Mhm.
real
Yeah,
hard hits, they're not 100% on that whole time. And I love that. I love that there's a little separation in there because it shows that it's human beings,
exactly.
you know? And as you
Trying
can
their
see
best,
by
trying their best to do it together, and that's
yeah.
that's that's what they're doing. And it's like when these guys in metal like will you know quantize their double kicks and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, I don't know, guys, if you can't play it, don't do it. And
Yeah.
I kind of like that, the old school where you had to perform. Think
Hmm.
of the old singers too. They didn't have pitch correct. They
Yeah.
had to hit their pitches, and they had
Hmm.
to learn breathing, they had to learn projection, they had to learn all that stuff. And I think nowadays people kind of lean too heavily on the technology,
Yeah.
and that kind of holds them back from developing, because I think it's good to have to dig
Hmm.
to get stuff, to get good sounds. And some of the best parts are the ones where they're right at the top of their vocal range, or they're that's where the sweet stuff, that's where the cool stuff is, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to get there. And I'm hoping that as my this experience with my new project goes, that I'll be pushing the boundaries a bit. And my youngest son's a producer, and he's like, "Okay, Dad, we're gonna do a couple of songs, and I'm gonna beat you up. We're gonna do that." No, I'm like, "Okay, okay, you
Yeah.
come in, do your worst." I'm like, "Let's do it," And I, like you said, working with a producer, I look forward to my youngest coming in and challenging me. He said, "You can play. You have way better chops than that. Dig."
I like that. I like that.
I'm
I
like,
have
okay, okay.
as I'm starting work on my new album, I have a little note right here that just says, "This better be the best it can be." And
Right.
that's my reminder to not go, "Yeah, that's good. I think I like that." To go, "No, I know that's the best I can do on this
Hmm.
song," and really focus on that, because whether it's the best to anyone else is kind of irrelevant. I mean, I hope people like it, obviously, but
Hmm.
I think when you're a writer, and tell me if you disagree, you have to write something that makes you happy. And if it makes you happy, there's a chance that other people will be happy with it too.
Yeah, I think the test too is if you can listen to your song and not cringe
Mm-hmm.
um, after the 500th time, you know,
Yeah.
um, you're doing okay. Because I found that especially in some of my earlier work and the rock bands that I was in the 90s. Um, I still hear them. I just hear the things that we didn't quite get. That's all I hear. I don't hear anything
Yeah.
else, and
Mm-hmm.
it still drives me nuts. I'll hear a song and I just can't do it,
I
right?
get it. Yeah.
And so you're right. And hey, I'm probably going to put stuff out that isn't isn't the Beethoven, but that's okay. I mean, right now I'm in this zone. I'm creating and I'm happy, and yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I hope people enjoy it. And I certainly hope, like you said, I hope the new energy that I feel that I have will translate into the music, and that people will get that
I think they
because
will. I think
yeah.
so. I usually don't get sick of my song until I'm on final mix 8.9, and then I'm
Mm.
like, okay, I've really had it with this one. It's time to bring in another
Well,
set
there
of
is
ears,
that
you
there
know?
is that point where it actually starts getting worse too,
Yeah.
and so it's good to save your old mixes because I have gone back to older mixes. Go, okay, yeah, what was I thinking? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well, before we talk about the book, I want to ask you a
yeah,
couple of quick questions, because you guys recently, well, within the last couple of years, had remastered some of your old songs, and you put out your first vinyl, which I
yeah.
have, and I love it. I think you guys did an incredible job with the sound on that.
Thank you.
What was that experience like, and what did it feel like when you
Oh, it was
actually
the best.
opened that?
It was the best. It was so cool having vinyl. I was just, well, because to me, having grown up in the 70s and 80s, that was, you know, the bands that you waited in line at the record store. That's what you're buying. You're buying their vinyl. And it was like, it meant a lot. And to me, music wasn't real until it was on vinyl.
Yeah,
And it seems so, I don't know, uh, not permanent if it wasn't put on vinyl. It was that sort of it's hard to explain. I mean, even a CD, I felt, oh, this is great, but it didn't feel the same as vinyl. So yeah, so getting vinyl was actually a great experience. And it's nice. Again, you can have a different experience with the music in that with that environment, which I really love. And it was a great project to do.
yeah, I can imagine. I kind of toyed with the idea of just doing a one-off vinyl, maybe just pressing a couple copies, because there's places that'll do that. They're a little expensive, but I don't sell a lot of physical anything, so I don't know that it would be really worth doing even an order of 100. But man, it would be so cool to have that. It really would.
Well, you could always wait and find some nice, like we did, a milestone, and
Mm.
do some compilation and do that, and then make it a thing.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
for us, it was, I think, our 20th year anniversary that we did that vinyl for, and that was a big milestone for us. And we just thought, okay,
Yeah.
let's do something special,
Mm-hmm.
and we did that, and it was great because it sold really well and people loved it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it again, but I don't know. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly. But I
And the
will
problem
say,
is, the market isn't what. Yes, there's a vinyl market and all that, but it's also you got to think about the who's buying what. And
yeah,
I'm not sure the demographic that's buying our the Mythos music is an older skew these days, and I'm not sure they're listening to vinyl in the same way. So I don't know. We'll see.
well, there's that and the shipping. I mean, the shipping is
Oh yeah.
another huge addition to the cost. And it's not that what you're selling isn't worth the price. It's that when you, as a consumer, factor in shipping, it's
Mhm.
like,
It's expensive.
I don't
Yeah.
really know that I need that
You
as
got to be
much as I thought
committed.
I did.
You got to be committed. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, where does the name of the project come from?
Nyxotic. Well, I was thinking about the feel. What is this music, and what do we want to create? And I kind of feel that it's definitely got something. Okay, you're gonna maybe listen to it at night, maybe listen to it, but it sort of had this sort of nighttime feel. Because there's a bunch of pieces I've written that sort of have this sitting and listening to music at night, and then I always felt that there was sort of this hypnotic or exotic or mythic type feel to the music. And so I'm like night, and then I think Nyx is a god of night, and I'm like, oh, Nyxotic. And it just sort of it just kind of came together because it kind of felt like the music. It was kind of in the same way that when Mythos found Gil Brevell back in the 90s as the artist for our artwork. It was this wild feeling of just, oh, well, this totally matched up. And we were lucky that our label, Mehdi Amadi, from Max out of LA, or sorry, out of San Francisco, found this guy. And it's just serendipity. So I think it's kind of like this with the name. It just felt right. It expressed what I was trying to do. And
Yeah.
it seems to be sitting okay. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if
Nice.
somebody. Yeah, I don't think that anyone else has it. I did my research. Uh,
Well, yeah, that's a very important part. I like the logo though with the moon on it. I think that looks really
yeah,
good. I think that really
yeah,
fits exactly what you're saying.
yeah. That was the feel of it. So
Mhm.
we'll go with that, and I'm feeling good about it, and the music definitely the music definitely has that sort of hypnotic, mythical kind of feel. It's some of it, like the second piece, is a bit more film score ish. I just went to the Hans Zimmer symphonic concert that was touring
Oh.
around the world,
Mhm.
and I'm just in awe of that guy. Just you just think of all the amazing pieces of music that he's written over the years, and you forget, oh, he did James Bond, he did, like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know him for Gladiator, and you know him for, like, yeah, Interstellar and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. But then, he did Lion King. He's just done amazing work, and just having a symphony perform that live it was quite an experience. So I'm very drawn to that. I kind of consider him, like, I listen to his music at the same time I'm listening to, you know, Enigma or
Mhm.
Enya or that kind of, like, I'll listen to Hans Zimmer, in the same playlist. I kind of feel that, especially when he's working with Lisa Gerard or other
Oh,
amazing
yeah.
artists like that, where you just have this uh, epic feel. So, I mean, I know I'm never going to hit that, but it's something to aspire to. It's always something to look at your sort of heroes, and my past heroes, like, Mike Oldfield or Vangelis, or
Mhm.
all that amazing stuff in the 70s and 80s, Oxygen, Mannheim Steamroller, all this really cool stuff that I grew up with, and just trying to take the bits and try to put them together in a unique way. That's what I've been trying to do.
It's a bit of a dream of mine. Completely selfish, I'll admit, but it's a bit of a dream of mine to write something that makes Hans Zimmer's jaw drop for a change because he's done it to me enough. you know
Wouldn't that would be awesome. That would
that
be
that
awesome.
would, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a look, you always have to aspire to something. And so
Mhm.
I think that's the point is, uh, I'm always been learning, and I'm continuing to learn. And I think that's the beauty of music, is There's always someone who's better than you. There's always somebody who
Right.
can write better. There's always someone who can produce better, and that's okay. It's that's part of the journey, and you just find the your niche, your place in the whole scheme of things, and that's fine too. You don't. I mean, I think there's a lot of bitter musicians in this world that I know well, who feel that they deserved more, and I don't feel anybody owes anybody anything,
Yeah.
frankly. And I think really it's more a question of what can you give back to people, and if you can connect with people. I mean, the biggest, like last year when you do the Spotify the year end, what's it
Oh, the rap.
Wrap, yeah,
Yeah.
Spotify Wrap thing,
Hmm.
and all the millions of streams, all that stuff. Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's awesome. I mean, I love that. But the nearly 1,000 fans who felt that Mythos was their number one artist in the world. That one was like, really? I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
Right.
That was the one that I was like, I don't care about all the other stuff.
Hmm.
People actually love it like that's that many people. And that doesn't, to a big giant artist, who, does billions of streams. That's a small number to me. That's like, wow. I mean, that means that meant more to me as an artist than any other
Yeah.
statistic, because it's
Hmm.
like, oh, wow. It's like people, I've connected with them. That's the main thing. That these
That's
people,
exactly the word, connected. I think
yeah.
that's the thing. And I know some people use my relaxation music to go to sleep or to help their kids go
Mhm.
to sleep. They've used it for birthing and things like that.
Mhm.
And that's great. I mean, that is such a huge compliment to say, I chose to bring my baby into this world
Yeah, it's
listening
huge.
to your music. But to see those numbers, I mean, it has to take you back a little bit and go, this many people spent time listening to something I helped create. That's
Mhm.
God, it just has to feel good.
It does. It's a great feeling, and that's I think that's part of why we do it. It's about connecting with people. That's why the live experience, playing live, is so great, because you get that
Yeah.
immediacy.
Hmm.
You get that immediate reaction. Working the studio is amazing, but you don't get that same reaction until you get the feedback after you put something out, and then it's sort of separated. So that's why it's nice to have those kind of statistics, or those kinds of things where you know you've done something that's connected with a bunch of people and all over the world, and that's all that I think anyone could ever ask for, with 8
Yeah.
billion people on this planet.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Exactly. Well, and you mentioned Gladiator. I'll just
yeah.
throw out a quick note to folks. La La Land Records, near the end of last year, released the full score for Gladiator, which is the first time that that's ever been available to the public. I have not gotten my copy yet, but I will be soon. They also released Steve Jablonsky's score for The Island. Steve came up in remote control under Hans. And he's done a lot of the Transformers movies and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the reboots, and a bunch of stuff. Incredible composers, both of them. I'm very grateful for what they've given us, because I've learned and enjoyed so much from them, as well as Mythos, one of my favorite bands. I probably would say, if I had Spotify, you guys probably would have been my number one artist too. I would admit that.
Yeah, and I get the Spotify thing too. I know it's tough nowadays, with some people not wanting to use Spotify, or there's reasons. There's all sorts of reasons. I get that. Unfortunately, for from an artist perspective, though, it's tough because the other platforms don't really give the same opportunity to promote
Right.
yourself like
Mm-hmm.
Spotify does. I mean, Apple Music's, I mean, frankly, hopeless when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the artist driven, or even independent label driven, marketing.
Right.
It's not set up for that. And whereas Spotify at least has some measure of, you can get in, you know, to a certain extent, to promote yourself. So that's one of the challenges. And I know a lot of artists have gone off or on Spotify over the years, and for a lot of different reasons. And I respect that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of other streaming services, and there's like you can download on iTunes. There's so many different ways to get at it. It's up to folks, how they
Well,
want to experience
yeah.
their music.
My thing is more, I actually don't subscribe to any streaming services, which is
Mhm.
just a personal choice. I just prefer to buy the music from the artist instead.
Mhm.
I have my music available on all the streaming services, because if you're an artist, you're not going to be seen very
Right.
likely unless you're on one of those services. So you kind of, as an
Exactly.
artist, you have to be there. But as a consumer, I just feel like I can support the artist a little bit better if I share their music, not share the music, but if I share the
Yeah.
knowledge of their music
No, but you're
and
right
purchase it.
though.
Yeah.
And the thing about purchasing is, and this is the problem with developing young artists nowadays, is that when I was starting out, you could sell 100 CDs, um, and make $1,000, and you know, and that
Yeah.
wasn't hard to do if you're on the road, and so it helped with your merch, and you were able to sustain yourself with that. And the problem now is that with streaming, you have to sell millions. You have to stream millions to get
Right.
even any kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so most new artists are doing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. That's translating into pennies.
Right.
It's not enough to generate revenue for artists. And so there's a real challenge, I think, moving forward with developing new artists with this particular model. And I know in Canada the government is trying to get a percentage from the streamers to put into development of artists, which might be one way to get at it. I know in the States there isn't really an appetite for that type of funding for artists, but um, you know, maybe there's a way to get the streaming services to help develop
Yeah.
artists in some other ways, like
Mm-hmm.
demo programs or something, because the big problem, or creating streams, stop their algorithms from stomping on new artists.
Right. Like have a new artist feature or something like that to
Yeah,
give people a chance and
more
get them a
showcase.
little
Yeah,
spotlight. Yeah. I
yeah.
know that Amazon's got some programs for that too, for Amazon Music, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It just feels like we're going to try and throw something out there and see what happens, as opposed to like a really intelligently developed
Yeah,
system yet.
it's. I think it's lip service. Frankly,
I do
it's
too.
not really, because I mean, there's so much big money in streaming these days, and it's it's gotten the majors, or the revenues are back to the sort of levels that it was before Napster. So
Mm-hmm.
it took a long time to get back to a sort of level of general, money from exploiting sound recordings, for lack of a better term, that resulted in revenues. But the problem is 99% of that money is going to the 0.1% of the artists, right?
Right.
So, or labels, or so. So you don't have that middle class of artists that you used to have a lot more of, which is
Mm-hmm.
frustrating, because that's where sometimes some of the jewels are. They
Yeah.
really are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you think of the middle class artists that stuck with it, and then one of them pops up and they're like, "Oh man, these guys are amazing."
Yeah, exactly. And I really think that the answer to this whole thing, honestly, is cassettes. Let's just go back to cassettes.
Yeah, eight
You know,
tracks,
eight
eight track.
track. Nothing like interrupting my song at my
I know,
favorite
right in the
part.
middle, click,
I
right in
had,
the middle.
you mentioned, yes, I had, I can't remember which album it was now, but the one that has Worm on it.
Mhm.
And they, every time it got right into the good part of Worm, it would switch tracks. So I'm like, waiting and waiting. And now I'm out of the song. It's kind of
It's
lost on me
funny
now. So,
because I remember cassette. What they used to do, they used to play debut albums on the radio on Sunday nights, like the new Pink Floyd album or this, then the rock station. And so I would get my cassette tape out and tape the album,
mhm,
of whatever that was. And then that, until I could afford to save up my pennies for the record, I would listen to the cassette
mhm,
from the AM radio or whatever it was. But the funny thing is, even in my head now, when I hear the song, I hear at the end of the song the announcer announcing the song
right.
in my head, because
Hmm.
I heard it 10,000 times that way, you know. And that's I still hear it when the song
Right.
ends.
Well, what's funny is a year and a half ago, I went to Detroit to see Yes open for Deep Purple, and we had backstage passes, so we were with Deep Purple while Yes was playing. But I could hear them doing Worm, and I was still waiting for that to stop and then start
Right.
up again for no reason, So
Yeah.
so tell us about your book. Tell us the title. The link is in the notes to Adagio Music, where you can buy the book.
Mhm.
Um, tell it, because you've just recently released the updated version, because the
Yeah,
music
so it's a
business is always
third
changing.
edition. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the book is called A Career in Music, 10 Steps to Success. And the book came out of the many years working in the music industry as an entertainment lawyer and running a local music industry association and running labels and doing all that stuff and being an artist as well. And so I tried to put everything I could into all the things that an artist really should be looking at doing, from live performance to songwriting to recording to marketing promotion to going after every revenue stream to planning, all the things that you need to do as an artist. I've tried to put it all into one space.
Mhm.
And then the second half of the book is about record deals and publishing deals and agency deals and different types of arrangements, your deal with your producer. So it digs more into the the legal side, but also looks at all the different deals so that you can get your head around the different publishing deals that are out there and that sort of thing as well. So I've tried to sort of make it a one-stop shop. I mean, obviously, it's such a big learning curve. I've
Yeah.
tried to compress it into a readable text that isn't I mean, I remember picking up This Business of Music when I was a young guy, and it was like this thick and it was written by a lawyer. And I said, I am never writing a book like this. Well, because it was so dense and
Yeah.
so like, oh my God, it's like I could barely read it. And it was, so I've tried to write a book as if I'm an artist talking to an artist. That's what
Mhm.
I've tried to do. And so that's, and I, wrote it 10 years ago and then rewrote it in 2018, and then I've done just a third edition. I've had to rewrite it again. Uh, that some of the stories are the same, but I've had to update a whole ton, especially in the digital section.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
completely new chapters,
Mhm.
but that's okay. And like I said, as soon as I published it, something else changed, and so I'm, obviously there'll be version 3.6 and 3.7, but
Well, I mean, if you think about it, when you wrote the first book, we didn't have streaming services. I mean, we
that's
had
right.
we had download services like Napster, but we
Right.
didn't have.
Right.
There was no Spotify or anything back then.
That's right. You're absolutely right. So, very different world. And so, even the language of talking about the transition from CDs to downloads, then it went from downloads to streaming. And so just changing the language throughout the book about the new models that have developed over the years. And so, that's actually a hard thing to do. I find it's easier to create something new than to go back and rework something that you've already done.
Right.
It's actually a lot harder. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I wrote a science fiction book back in, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I never got to the sequel because I got elected, and then I got halfway through the sequel and I ran out of time, and I just never had time. And now I'm trying to go revisit it, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah. Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
even know what my book's about.
yeah, you're a different person. Your
Yeah,
perspective
yeah.
is different. The world has changed.
World's different.
You're
Well, yeah,
out of
because
the zone.
well, it was
You're
funny because in my science fiction book, I was talking about, this is a sort of future late 21st century sort of thing, and
Mhm.
I was talking about Reagan too, like as a so the
Oh.
second coming of Reagan sort of thing. But
Mhm.
now it'd be Trump too, it'd be,
Mhm.
it's big. Trump didn't even exist when I wrote the book, so in
Yeah.
terms of politics, so
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Yeah, I
I mean, now
decided.
because now I'm like, I pine for the days of Reagan, and I'm like, what? Not because I agreed with his policies, but at least he was presidential.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as today. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. I went a different. I just wrote the whole book and then I broke it into three novels and did it that way because it was too big
Yeah,
for somebody to give a new author a chance. If the book is too big, they're going to go, that's too much of an
yeah.
investment. If I don't
Mm.
like the guy, it's kind of a waste. So you have to do it in smaller chunks. But I found the writing process fascinating because originally I wrote it as a short screenplay and then I wrote it as a feature film.
Hmm.
And then when the funding, my producer was never able to get funding to do the film, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take control of this. I'm going to take this and write as a novel. And I
Right.
thought, I've got the story. All I have to do is fill in the scent of the room and the color of the trees. No, I completely rewrote that with everything that was going on.
Mm.
Then I was on the set of Jason Bourne, which they were shooting in Vegas at the time. I was with them for one day. Then it became a bigger spy thriller. It's like all these little influences that you have affect that writing. So for
Mhm.
you, 8 years go by, your world is completely different.
Mhm.
Now to go back to that, it's like you don't even have that same voice that you had when you were doing it.
I agree, and so I may just do something new.
Do you find that with
um,
music though? Do you find like an old piece of music that maybe you never finished and you pick it up and you're like, maybe I'll work on this, and you're like, I don't feel this piece anymore, or I don't feel the direction for this piece anymore.
well, yes, I mean, but it's happened both ways.
Mm.
I've recently, I mean, one of the three pieces I did just in this was an older idea that is, never kind of was kicking around, and then I just kind of forgot about it, and then came back to it, and then I had fresh eyes on it. So sometimes an older idea with fresh eyes can be really awesome.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
sometimes you're like, I was so excited about that idea, 4 years ago, and now I listen to it and I go, what the hell was I thinking? It was
Right.
doesn't it doesn't hit me at all. So
Hmm.
I think that's, and then I'll maybe pick it up in 3 years. Oh, maybe that wasn't such a bad idea after all.
Yeah, it's all about that moment, right?
About
Whether you're
perspective, right?
in the
Where
zone
you
in
are in
that
that
moment.
moment.
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I do that when I'm out and about. I'll get an idea and I'll kind of hum or sing it into my phone, or I'll tap a rhythm out,
Mhm.
and I'll get home and go, I can't even find the one on this. Where was I going? Because it makes sense in the
Well, that's because it
moment,
was in
but
7/8.
it was in 70 exactly. Oh, there's a Facebook channel. I can't remember her name, but she does these tests where she'll give you three different time signatures, and you have to figure out what she's playing in. And I get a lot of them, but every once in a while I come across one where I'm like, God, I don't know what you're doing. I
Right.
cannot find the one on this, and it really just bugs me because I'm a drummer.
But if she's not playing the one, you're not maybe going to pick up the one, So,
True.
because I mean, if you're playing a time signature correctly, you should be able to feel the one. I
Right.
mean, because of the emphasis, like,
Mm-hmm.
so if it's just linear with no like emphasis on the one, or emphasis on the one and the three, or whatever it is,
Right.
um, you're, it's going to be really hard because, oh, is that 7/8? Is that 12/8?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what
Yeah.
is that? Is it just 4/4 and you're playing triplets? I
I
don't know.
have I have been fooled by that before. I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be honest. Yeah, because it's all again, it comes down to the way you look at it.
yeah,
Because no matter what, you're playing an even number, so they're always going to come back among at a certain amount of repeats. You're always going to
right.
come back to whatever you're counting in. You're going to
Yeah,
find a way to make it work.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know. So okay, so the single for Putumayo is
Mhm.
available now, and like I
Yeah.
said, I have the link to iTunes if you guys want to go grab a copy. There are two other songs that you can pre-order. So do you have release dates for those at this point? I would imagine you had to put something in iTunes.
Yeah, so both of them will be I'm going out the first week of every month. So the next track will come out in February, and then the track after that will come out in March, the first week of March. So yeah, people can watch out for those as well. And slightly, different. I got Aaron to sing on the third one as well, so it's
Oh,
but a little different. It's a little different. But I'm already working with somebody else on the fourth and fifth. So I'm just excited to be creating again. So
yeah.
it's really exciting.
Well, I was very excited when I got that email, like I said, because I was just elated that we were going to get something new. It
Mhm.
isn't Mythos, but it has a similar flavor to it. Like I could kind of see a little bit of a connection, but it is its own unique thing. Last question I'll ask you, because we talked about this the last time you were on, and it's kind of a real problem. Mythos was a bit pigeonholed in the
Mm.
genre of world beat because that was
Mhm.
kind of how we classified everything that was ambient,
Mhm.
everything that wasn't pop or rock or rap or hip hop.
Mhm.
How is this categorized now, or does it is each song going to kind of be maybe its own thing?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I would say with the production style that there's electronic elements and there's acoustic elements. So electro-acoustic seems to be a good overall uh, broad genre.
Mhm.
But that's tough too, because if you start looking at the pigeonholes that people create for promoting music, it's like, where do I fit this? Is it electronica? Is it this? Is it what is it? You know, and
Right.
I've frankly, Mythos was the same. We were never actually fit any genre. We were in the new age on Billboard. We were on the new age charts, right?
Right.
Which was fine, but we were on the same charts as some like really new age music, and it's like, okay, yeah, we don't have like birds chirping and whale sounds and stuff. Well, we do actually. We did have one song with whale
I think there
sounds,
was
but
one. Yeah.
but generally speaking, it's not like that what you would think of that. And so, but I was happy to be on a Billboard chart. It's just
Oh
that's what they
yeah.
stuck us, right?
Right.
So, but which was fine. And they also had Enigma on that chart, and they also had B Tribe. They had Enya. They had Manhattan Steamroller. They had a whole bunch of other artists on that same chart, and that I was, hey, I'm sharing the same chart as these artists that I love. So I was
Right.
very pleased with that. But there were also artists in there that I was like, okay, this isn't what we're doing at all. And it was the funniest thing too. The first award we ever won, um, they had lumped. It was in Vancouver. In Vancouver, it was a sort of a provincial award, and they had lumped hip hop and electronic together.
That's
And
a
so
weird
I was representing
combination.
this band called the Rascals, and they were a very heavy hip hop group, and us, Mythos, I'm like,
Why?
wasn't even on the same planet. And the funny thing is, I was their lawyer, and we laughed so hard that we were in the same category, and that's what happens when you're not in a genre that's clear, is that they don't know where to put you,
Right.
and that's just fine with me.
Well, I look
That's
forward
just
to you.
fine with me.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
care
being on
about
a chart.
labels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I look
no, but I
forward
mean, I'd
to.
love to be on a chart, but I'm just saying,
Sure.
I'm not trying to create a label, or to create a genre sort of thing. I know
Mhm.
the industry puts things into genres, but what is genre now? I mean,
Yeah.
when Beyonce wins like a country artist of the year, genre has disappeared. Okay,
Well, you got that. You
I
got
mean,
Dolly
come on,
Parton getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of
right? The whole
Fame. You
thing,
get, yeah.
right?
I mean, it's just nothing makes sense anymore. It's just,
But
and I
but
mean,
is that a
country.
bad thing?
No, I
No.
don't think so. I think the problem is it comes down to the listener, and there's
Mm,
the
mhm.
industry that has to try and find a way to market, and I get that. It's
Yeah,
got to be
yeah,
a challenge from that perspective, but I think you also have that from the listener who is like, I like country music, I don't like rap, and they get
right.
in their head about that, and they're not as open minded. So you have to give them something that gives them enough to be able to say that they're listening to their genre,
But
and
then you get those crossovers where you've got the hip hop country stuff, and
yeah,
it's huge, right?
hmm,
Huge,
right.
huge.
Yeah, or like you said, you get Beyonce putting out a country album. Well, does that make
Yeah,
her a country artist? Yes, but she's not a country artist. That's not her
right.
bread and
And then
butter.
people resent that and all that.
Right, and then they'll love when their artists experiment, but they'll also condemn them for it. It's
Mhm,
so difficult. Just do what you do,
mhm.
and let the world sort it out. Is kind of the way I look at it. But I do look forward to you guys taking Eminem down on the rap charts this coming year. I, I feel like that's going to
I'll
happen.
collaborate with Eminem. Hey, if you can set it up.
I would love to see that. I actually grew up very close to him. We've never met.
uh,
Um, I
doing a
think
beat for Eminem.
yeah, I think
Wow.
he's a year older than I am, but we grew up about 10 miles apart.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yeah.
But were you on different sides of the tracks or what?
We were literally, actually, literally
Yeah,
on different sides of the tracks. Yeah,
yeah,
but no, it's just it's interesting. I just love that you're finding your creative outlets again. I'm really excited about this song. I really honestly like it, and if I didn't like it, I wouldn't hype it up so much. I honestly love that.
oh, excellent.
I'm looking forward to hearing the next couple and just seeing where this project goes, and then whatever comes from it comes from it. And I'm wishing you the
Exactly.
absolute best of success. I'm sure a lot of people will connect with it. And that's, like you said, that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Well, thanks, and thanks for your support over the years too. It means a lot, and so I really, really appreciate our friendship and our ability to connect every once in a while. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Me
fantastic.
too. I'll say this as we wrap it up. One of the greatest things about you know, they say don't meet your heroes, don't meet the people that inspire you or whatever. But one of the great things about doing that last podcast with you was that I got to see two really cool guys that were behind music I absolutely adored. And that made the music even better. It doesn't make the music better, it makes the listening experience better for me.
It's funny how the opposite can happen too.
Yes.
I I don't know if I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to tell the story. So
Okay.
I was on a trade mission to Japan for the music industry, and we were with a Canadian band called Bedouin Sound Clash, and the Trues, and who are a huge rock band. I love them, and Alex Cuba, and a Latin artist. Anyway, so we were there, and I guess for whatever reason, Bedouin Sound Clash got like wined and dined the night of their big showcase, and the entire Canadian consulate, everyone was out, the whole industry was out, and he was hammered. He was falling off the stage. It was just like, the funny thing is that it was just like, it was so embarrassing because we were on a trade mission together, right? And it was just one of these moments. And I was a huge fan, right? And I'm still a fan, but it was just,
Sure.
it changed my view of the whole thing, because now I've felt embarrassed whenever I heard the songs. It reminded me of that moment, right, where
Right.
I'm sitting there with the consul general, and I'm like, yeah, rock and roll.
That's how it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
guys. Sorry to tell the story, but
well, I mean,
that's
in the Deep Purple podcast recently did covering the album Last Concert in Japan, where Tommy Bolin had notoriously fallen asleep on his arm for a couple of days and could not play, and had to, detune all the songs and play bar chords. And boy, things happen. And
yep. It's lots of
it
stories. Yeah.
can take a little bit of the flavor out of it for me. I'll be honest. It's sometimes hard to separate. I can do it sometimes, and sometimes it digs in a little deeper.
Yeah.
I'll put it
Well,
that way.
on that note, yeah, I'm glad that we didn't turn you off our music.
Not at all. Not at all. I even remember back to the first time going to that New Age store when I first moved to Phoenix, and
Yep.
seeing that little kiosk, and
Mhm.
seeing your music there and listening to it and going, wow, I really like this. And I listened to samples from everybody, but you guys' music was what I really connected with. It was just something about it that hit me. And I thought, I got to dig into this, and I got the first album that I bought was that day, and just
Right.
gobbled it up. And to this day, I still enjoy it to the fullest. So thank you for this new music. Thank you for all that you've given us, because you've given us a lot to enjoy, Bob, and it really means a lot to me, and obviously like 7 million other people.
Thanks.
So come back anytime, guys. Go to the website, go to iTunes. All the links are in the show notes. Check out the book. I'm going to be grabbing a copy and reading it as soon as I get a chance. Come back to the show anytime, Bob. And I'm absolutely wishing you the best of success with this. I think people are really going to enjoy what you're doing.
Thanks, my friend.
You
Talk
bet.
to you
Take
later.
care.